Joe Avalos. He's been teaching people how to save lives for over 40 years. He's been educating officials in fire departments, EMS, Red Cross, American Heart Association, and he is now a retired fire rescue attendant, and he's certified in the education of fire safety. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Abby. How you doing? It's good to be here.
Welcome to MundoNet. And we also have Ed Nardella. He owns Paul Davis. Paul Davis is an organization that's been around for over 20 years in the Northeast. He's been serving as he had served as the president of National Executive Council, and he's the current district president of 40 offices in the Northeast. And Paul Davis recently won awards for the highest customer service satisfaction in the Northeast. Welcome to MundoNet, Ed.
Thank you.
And so we're all here today because we had a discussion about a lot of fires that have been happening in the Northeast. We have a morning show called La Radio Morning Show, and we've been reporting fires in homes and people that maybe are not aware on safety measures that they can take, and unfortunately it's cost some lives. And we wanted to maybe if you could each tell us a little bit about yourselves, and if you wanted to start and just tell us a little bit about you and about Paul Davis.
Sure, thank you. Paul Davis is an insurance restoration company, which means that we get involved in the restoration of homes when they're damaged, typically by fire, unfortunately. Sometimes it's water damage or storm damage, but any damage to a home or a commercial building that has suffered. We typically are an approved contractor with most of the large national and regional insurance carriers. So if a property owner has that damage, they call their carrier. The carrier then will ask if they need the help of the contractor. Then they will put us in touch with the customer, and we'll deliver our services. And those services range from the immediate emergency services, which may involve boarding up a house and tarping a roof, making the house secure after a major fire so that there's no additional damage, no possibility of further injury to people.
What kind of damage could be included in an additional damage, just so you give us an idea?
Sure. If a home is left open or non-secured, you can have vandals, you can have animals, you can have the elements that come in and cause even further damage. In most cases, the homes are not total. There's severe damage, but there's something to work with. And if the home is not secured properly after the occurrence, then that's when the additional damage could occur. And even more important than the damage is the possibility of injury to people who are either working on the property, or the property owners or residents who are coming in and out to look at their possessions, to eyeball the amount of damage.
That's interesting about the possessions. That's going to be something we definitely want to talk about a little bit more later on, because people are very attached to their belongings, their history, their pictures.
As you can imagine, this whole process is very emotional, and if they can hang on to that's
absolutely
what they want to do.
Yes.
And we're lucky to have Joe join us as our emergency recovery coordinator. We lured him out of retirement because he has such wonderful qualities and a great background in education and the ability to help people. So it was a perfect fit for what our mission is as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and what you've done in the whole education of the fire safety?
Well, my education background actually started with the Heart Association and the Red Cross. I got interested in that when I was a volunteer for St. Joe's Hospital when I was 14. I saw people coming in dead on ambulance calls from CPR not being performed, and I decided I wanted to do something about it. And that's when I started at age 17 being certified as a CPR instructor. And I've been teaching something in emergency services ever since.
That's amazing. I mean, you must have some incredible stories.
I have a lot of
in
good
your
stories
hat.
and a lot of bad stories.
Yes, and so we have this campaign that started, and it's involving Paul Davis, and it involves a lot of different officials and people who help the community, trying to find ways to help prevent these sort of occurrences. We in Stamford, Connecticut, recently had a terrible situation happen some years ago. I think that has hit home for many people, many families with small children, especially around the holidays. And so this campaign is called Hear the Beep When You Sleep. And I guess every year there's a campaign, isn't there, Joe?
Yeah.
And
Let's touch on that,
so-
that subject of Japan Point fire, you know. It was a horrible tragedy, you know, and I'm not sure if there were smoke detectors present or not, but, you know, if you have a smoke detector, you have a chance to get out at night. If you don't, you have like zero chance. You know, 50% of all fire fatalities happen between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. in the morning. And if there's no smoke detector, it's almost impossible to get out of the house. Without a plan, where you have a common meeting place outside, without the family discussing things before something happens, without people trying to prevent fires.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you have a plan in your household?
Well, it's just me and my dog, but yes, I have a plan.
How about you, Ed? Do you have a plan?
We do, yes. It's pretty simple. We have 3 egresses from our house, and our kids, fortunately or unfortunately, they're old enough that they're on their own and they're out of the house. So it's just my wife and partner in the business, Nancy, and I. So it's a fairly simple plan, but there is a plan. We know exactly what we need to do if and when any sort of warning occurs.
We're going to make a plan. We don't have a plan.
Well, here's a good plan, even if you don't have one. Get down low and get out quick. When your smoke detector goes off, get down low and get out quick. And go to your common meeting place and never return for anything. Don't return for people, pets, or property. If you get out, consider yourself blessed.
Wow.
That's a good question, Joe. What happens if someone has an infant in the house and they're not able to get their infant and they want to, the instinct is to go and protect your young. So you want to quickly go and grab your child, but maybe you can't access your child.
If you have a child, the child should be sleeping next to you until they're old enough to fend for themselves.
If you
That's
have
right.
a child, your child should be sleeping next to you until they're able to fend for themselves. That's an
Si
interesting...
tienes un niño, tiene que dormir cerca, no lo puedes dejar dormir lejos para estar pendiente y saber qué es lo que pasa y poder atenderlo en el momento más apropiado.
Así que si los niños están en otra parte de la casa, lejos de uno, y todavía no se pueden salvar solitos, es un riesgo alto, Charlie.
Es un riesgo muy alto.
Es
Vamos
muy
a hablar,
peligroso eso.
vamos a hablar sobre lo que pasó acá en Stanford, o no todavía, un poco más
Sí,
adelante.
sí, estábamos hablando de Japan. We were talking a little bit about the story in Japan, what
Pero ¿qué tal si
happened.
lo hacemos un poquito más adelante para poder darles tiempo a ellos de explicar un poquito más sobre planes y sobre todo lo que están haciendo?
Of course, of
Traduce
course.
lo que acabo de decir.
We're gonna talk more about the story of Japan later on. After maybe you give us some more facts and some awareness around this campaign and helpful tips for our listeners that they can do easy things, that they can do things that you think are common sense, but they really aren't.
And Abby, I think just picking up on what Joe mentioned about the age of the child when they're old enough, they're part of that plan. Just as they're in school where they have fire safety drills, et cetera, at home, it's the same process. That once they're capable of understanding, then they've got to be educated and buy into that plan as well. Parents are always going to be obviously worried in a situation like that, but if the kids are trained properly, then that's their best opportunity to get out safely.
Mm-hmm. I remember seeing a commercial when I was growing up, and it would talk about stop, drop, and roll. I haven't seen those commercials on digital media. I have not seen them anywhere in iPods or Netflix or Pandora. I'm surprised that all of that has disappeared. It would be a great campaign to roll out through streaming.
Right, stop, drop, and roll is actually after you catch fire, so stop, drop, and roll. Maybe they've eased off on that because sometimes messages get mixed with younger kids, and they think when the alarm goes off they should stop, drop, and roll, but they should be getting out, not stopping and dropping and rolling.
Okay, that's good to clarify. Eso quiere decir que cuando habían comerciales en los 80s y los 90s, habían unos comerciales donde indicaban que las personas, si hay fuegos, que se tiren al piso y se rodeen hacia afuera, pero aquí Joe está diciendo que eso no se debe hacer, que los niños se confunden. Lo importante es salir lo más rápido posible. Bajarse a la parte más segura del espacio donde el humo no está, porque todo el fuego se sube, y salirse del lugar, que es importante tener un plan, que los niños en las escuelas les están enseñando cómo cuidarse si hay un incendio, y debe ser igual en las casas. Hasta ahora eso es lo que hemos hablado. So So we were just telling our listeners, you know, a recap of what we were saying with the children. Once they're ready, they understand they're part of the plan and that it's important to get out of the house. Now, what about this campaign that's happening this year? Hear the beep when you sleep. Escuche el pito cuando estás dormido. What does that mean? What is that all about?
Say that again, please.
The Hear the Beep When You Sleep campaign. Why is it important to hear the beep when you sleep, and what is this campaign about in 2015?
It's about the need for a smoke detector in every bedroom. Now, the code only requires normally a smoke detector outside each sleeping area. However, they're recommending this year that everybody have a smoke detector in each sleeping area, so that if you sleep with the doors closed, the corridor smoke detector might go off and it will be muffled. So you should have one in your room in addition to the one that's in the corridor, so that you have enough audible to wake you up out of a sound sleep.
I got a question. When you hear the little beep in the smoke detector, what that means? It's working
That's
properly?
bad. That
It's
means
bad.
you didn't test your smoke detectors every time you changed your clocks. You
So
didn't
we
change
have
your
to
batteries.
change
Okay,
batteries.
so every time you
Okay.
change your batteries, your clock.
Change your clock, change your batteries.
Even
Remember
if
that.
they're
yeah.
connected into the power.
Yes, because there's always battery backup too. So
Okay.
you need to check the batteries in addition to having power.
Now
So
that's
even though
that.
they're wired, Charlie, even though they're wired, they'll function if the power is on. But the whole point is that if the power goes off, the backup battery is going to be essential.
Yeah.
So it's just telling you that part of the smoke detector is not
Right.
operable.
Oh, okay, good.
Sometimes fires interrupt the power supply.
Right away.
Yeah.
Because
Short
sometimes
circuits.
happens in the box, right? So
Así que las alarmas de fuego, ¿cómo se dicen? Fire.
los detectores de
Los
alarmas.
detectores
incendios.
de incendios hacen un sonido cuando las baterías hay que cambiarlas.
So that means we have to change our batteries.
Suenan
in our
como un
house.
pajarito.
Right.
No,
And
it's-
you're supposed to test your detectors
Yeah,
once
we
a
have
month.
to change this in our house.
Okay, that was my question.
Yes.
You have to test your detectors once a month. And are there different kinds of detectors? ¿Hay diferentes tipos de detectores?
Yes, there's heat detectors, there's carbon monoxide detectors, there's ionization chambers, and there's photoelectric chambers. The ionization usually react quicker than it depends on what type of building you have. You should check with your fire marshal if you don't know on what type you should have for your building.
That's good to know, and people
But
don't know
sleeping
that.
areas in residential
maybe.
homes, usually ionization chambers are the most effective.
Where could they purchase these fire safety alarms? Everywhere,
everybody
Lowe's,
has
Home
them now,
Depot,
yeah.
everybody can get
They're
them.
not expensive either. You can get one I have one in the car, it costs $3.69.
$3.69.
So long as it's UL listed and approved or a recognized testing agency, they all work the same.
Así que todos a comprar los detectores de alarmas que no son costosas, pero es muy costoso después de un incidente para un incendio.
I think you just pay like in Costco, you just pay like $24 for 3 of them, right?
Yeah, and if you have a fire in your house, Paul Davis, this program we're doing is going to be giving away smoke detectors after the fire to people who need them if they're going someplace without a detector after they have to leave their homes. But you're better off never having to do that. So, if you test your smoke detectors, make sure they work. You'll never get in a situation where you regret it.
I got a question. And those fires that have been happening in New York City because the gas company didn't, do the right work, or it's too old lines or whatever. Is any of these situations happening here in Connecticut or no?
I've been kind of out of it. I can't really answer that question. I'm not really in fire service anymore. But
I think depending upon the construction and what exists as the infrastructure, it could happen anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're talking about, what Joe's talking about, of course, is prevention. Primarily, when you talk about smoke detectors, they're obviously not going to prevent the fire from occurring, but they're going to prevent lives from being disrupted.
Of course.
And they're going to minimize the damage, because the sooner you get notification, the sooner you get the first responders out there, the better the chances are that the damage is mitigated. So, it's important to understand that the most important aspect of this is saving lives, and that's what fire smoke detectors are really all about.
Sí, la idea aquí es de salvar vidas y
Prevenir.
bajar los riesgos
Y
de
prevenir.
So with the fire detectors, the smoke detectors, they're connected to one another. They communicate with one another. Are all like that, or
not the ones you buy in the stores normally. They're just for one area each. But they do have systems where you can connect areas for probably costs quite a bit more than individual smoke detectors.
and
And you can have central station monitoring, so if your smoke detector goes off, the fire department is notified automatically, but that's a very costly system.
And even the sprinklers.
Hay unos sistemas que existen para las personas que están interesadas, más costosos y especiales, donde se pueden conectar los detectores y también pueden mandar un señal al departamento de bomberos. I would think that might be appropriate in a case where somebody might have a special needs child in their home, or
Good point, yeah.
or they might have I don't know.
If people have
A kennel
impair-
business?
If people have impairments, it would be a good idea to have domestic sprinkler heads protecting their path out of the building to give
Okay.
them more time.
And
Okay,
if you're fortunate enough to, if you have new construction or you're in a position where you can afford to have the smoke detectors wired as a circuit, then yes, they will all alarm at the same time. And of course, the beauty of that is everybody in the house, no matter where you are, will be notified at the same time. But if you don't have that luxury, the $3.49 smoke detector
At least
is
that's
a
good.
heck of a good buy.
Absolutely. It's more
And
manual.
that, and that shouldn't deter you if you don't have the resources to have your home wired in circuit in common. That shouldn't prevent you from going out and getting a reasonably priced smoke detector, battery operated, and installing it ASAP.
There are dual detectors too that detect both carbon monoxide and smoke, which are a good idea, because especially if people have generators and power backup systems, sometimes they develop leaks in the exhaust systems, and carbon monoxide is the part of fire gas that is the most often fatal. So carbon monoxide detectors in addition to or combined units are very good.
Yeah.
The basements of homes is where you would have the most
in the
risk.
area of the heating unit, because heaters can malfunction and create carbon monoxide.
And besides that, the fire department, especially in Stanford, have been, searching all the houses, and they have a program right now where they ask the people to fireproof the basements or put the sprinkler system. Can you explain a little more about that? You know about that
Are there regulations, I guess, in place?
in Stanford?
Well,
regarding-
normally when they require something like that, it's because there's a deficiency in the code in another part of the building, and there's something called modification relief that the fire marshal is allowed to do. So say instead of rebuilding the whole house, the fire marshal will allow them to make a part of the house safer in a proposal that's completed and submitted to him for approval.
So, for
But
example,
people should not do that on their own.
if Paul
If they want
Davis,
to be code compliant, they should always check with the fire marshal.
if Paul Davis is asked to come in and renovate a home that's been damaged by fire, might something like that apply? Where instead of I guess gutting out completely and redoing a whole area of a house, you might follow along in those codes.
Definitely, Abby. The most common occurrence in a major fire that is considered a code upgrade, because the code now is the current code versus whenever the house was built. And the most common upgrade that's required is the addition of smoke detectors and hardwired smoke detectors. So that is, in most insurance policies, that is an area of coverage that is electable. So people have the opportunity to provide code upgrade coverage, and that is the most common addition we see beyond restoring a home to its pre-loss condition.
So, well, we're back with our program today. We're talking about Hear the Beep, Where You Sleep campaign from October 4th through October 10th. This is a campaign that's national, and we have our fire safety experts here, Joe Avalos and Ed Nardella. Both of them are here to talk to us today and teach us not only about the fire itself, but how to prevent it, what we can do to be safer, to be smarter, to use common sense, ser más cuidadosos con evitar fuegos en nuestras casas. Han habido muchos reportes de fuegos en casas últimamente en el área triestatal de New York, y estos señores, Joe Avalos y Ed Nardella, nos están donando su tiempo hoy para educar al público con esta campaña escuche el pito mientras duermes. Es una campaña que está promoviendo la venta o el negocio de tener más detectores, detectores de todo tipo en todas partes de la casa.
Claro que sí. Bueno, vamos a hablar un poquito más ahora sobre situaciones que han pasado, sobre algunas anécdotas y situaciones trágicas que nosotros queremos prevenir. ¿Y qué pasa después de que pasa un fuego? ¿Cómo
Sí.
continúa la vida después de que pasa un fuego? ¿Y cómo entran ellos a ayudarnos?
So this is a little bit sad. We're gonna share a little quick story snippet of the story in Japan, and it's important to tell these sad stories because this is what builds our awareness. We're using this to talk about what maybe lessons learned and how we might be able to prevent these things from reoccurring. So, Joe, could you tell us a little bit about the fire that occurred in Japan? How long ago was this? What happened?
2011.
Just a high-level overview of this fire that
Yeah,
was
it's been a
devastating.
while ago, but it's amazing how many people remember it because it was a terrible tragedy where grandparents and grandchildren are perishing in a fire. And my nephew was at the fire. My brother was on vacation. He was there. They wound up calling him out of retirement to do the media releases because that's what me and him did. And my nephew wound up being at the fire. He's third-generation fireman in our family, and he wound up having to extricate some of the people who were severely burned. And it's kind of ironic because after doing the fire safety work, my brother and I and 4 other guys, 15 years with no fatality, and then another 15, and then this happened, and my nephew wound up being the person who had to help 2 of the victims out.
Now, I understand that your nephew was involved in taking out the children from the home,
One of each, I think, he took out, yeah.
and
Located and helped remove, yeah.
that's pretty
That's ironic,
pretty strong, and very brave of your nephew to do
He's a
this.
great person.
So
yeah.
many brave people that are involved in this community and in many communities that go into the line of fire every day and breathe the smoke and expose themselves to toxins and risk their lives to save
¿Cuál
lives.
fue la razón para ese fuego? ¿Cómo fue que se ocurrió y cuál fue la...
How did it
I
begin?
think that sometimes the public has a different image of the firefighter being strong, and we're just as emotionally weak as anybody else, and what we have to see at times is very disturbing, and it really hits home when something like this happens, because now when a fireman goes into a situation where he sees children having difficulties, very frequently he sees his own child and that happening to them, and it becomes very troublesome, So firemen have a really tough job, and they have a lot of support. It's a good brotherhood, and they have good families. But fires hurt everybody. The best way to deal with fires is to prevent them and not have them happen in the first place. Now, in this case, I believe the cause was improperly discarded fireplace contents. And also you have improperly discarded smoking materials. People smoke cigarettes, they throw them in a trash can. I actually had a fire in my own home, and it was my grandmother was living with us at the time, and she put her cigarette in the trash can, and within 30 seconds, the whole playroom where they were staying went from no fire to fire all the way up to the ceiling and mushrooming it out. And if me and somebody else in the house didn't know how to put it out, it would have taken the whole house down. You have to be very careful with smoking materials.
Do you want to translate that, Charlie?
Está contando que el fuego tuvo que ver por la forma como ellos estaban haciendo disposición de los materiales que venían de la chimenea y que también habían problemas con cigarrillos. Incluso Joe está contando que en alguna oportunidad él estaba en su casa y con su familia, su abuela tomó un cigarrillo y lo puso en una cesta de la basura, y en menos de 30 segundos esta cesta de la basura tomó fuego y el fuego llegó casi hasta el techo, hasta la parte de arriba del techo, y que si no hubiera sido porque ellos saben cómo detener el fuego y habían 2 bomberos en la casa, pues había podido quemarse la casa completamente.
So, talking about prevention, which is the second part of our segment for today, our show, it's important if both of you can tell us, Joe and Ed, your thoughts, your tips, your safety tips, what people need to know to prevent these fires, apart from the smoke detectors that they need to buy. And
Take it away, Joe.
Simply keep anything hot away from anything that burns. Your stove, you cook on your stove, you leave paper near the stove, the paper catches fire. You start cooking, you leave the stove. I would say many calls that I responded to was unattended cooking. Eventually the fire is going to get out of the pan that it's in and go right up the wall and start the house on fire. So people have to pay attention when they're cooking, not leaving the cooking burning while they go someplace else. And turn the burners off if you have to leave. Take the pots off the burner because they stay hot, especially electrical burners, for a while after you turn them off. So you have to be careful. That's what prevention is all about. Space heaters are terrible this time of year for causing fires. You have to keep everything at least 15 to 20 inches away from any space heater. Never get clothes near space heaters. Keep a circle, I would say, of 10 feet so that you don't get a problem there.
That's good.
You guys are good. Next thing, children with matches.
Children
or
with
lighters.
matches.
Los niños
Candles.
con fósforos también son muy
Many
peligrosos,
children,
las
when
velas.
they get their hands on it, will take a cigarette lighter and use it like a car and rub the wheel and cause the lighter to ignite and cause a
I
fire
used
on
to
the
do
carpet.
that all the time.
Uh-oh.
Ah, Charlie.
Confessions.
Keep any lighters and matches above the reach of your small children until they understand the consequences. Also, teach your children. Don't tell them no, because that's like a challenge. Tell your children, if you find matches or lighters, please give them to mommy or daddy. Don't do anything with them.
Ahora mira, eso está interesante lo que dice Joe,
So
que
it's
si
a positive behavior, not
un
saying
niño
no. Yeah.
encuentra las cosas, nosotros los latinos tenemos la costumbre, no haga eso, no, ¿no? Y el niño lo hace más. Entonces
And
aquí
if they do it once, take them out for the biggest ice cream you ever gave them.
Joe está diciendo que al niño hay que decirle, cuando veas esa cajita de fósforos, me la entregas y te voy a comprar un helado grande.
Abby,
So-
you know, we're getting to that time of year also. You know, we have had assignments come to us, fires that have started from jack-o'-lanterns, pumpkins that are left inside
Oh,
the home.
Halloween, of course.
Then beyond that, you're getting to the season where people are lighting candles, burning fires in their homes, using wood-burning stoves, and of course you get into Christmas with lights on brittle trees that have dried out. So that holiday season, you know, from now and through the rest of the winter, I guess,
End of-
Joe, it's probably
End of December,
Oh,
no?
yeah.
End
the
of December.
busiest time
Yeah.
in terms of fires. In fact, isn't Thanksgiving one of the days where there's
Oh, yeah.
more
Thanksgiving.
fires?
Christmas, I think I like to talk about because I have a personal story there. My father was a captain in the fire department. He went to a fatal fire involving a Christmas tree. We were never allowed to have anything other than artificial trees after that. You know, live trees are beautiful, but unless you're very, very careful, keep them well watered, cut them a quarter inch from the stem so that they draw the water up. Don't just put them in water. You have to cut them before you put them in the water. All this stuff is very important.
That's
if you want a
because
live
they
tree, you've got
seal,
to be
right?
very diligent. Yeah.
Claro que sí.
Everybody heard of pine tar? You put pine tar on baseball bats to make it sticky. Tar is oil. Oil is an accelerant. A Christmas tree is full of natural accelerant. It goes up like gasoline. You don't have time to get out of your house if a tree catches on fire. It's like having a can of gasoline in your living room.
You know, the most incredible thing is exactly that, living room. The trees are in the part of the house where
And
you
really
might
near
have
to
a safety plan
curtains, es real
to exit.
curtains con-
It's right in the path of exit. You
It's
go
right in the
upstairs
path
and
of
go to
exit.
sleep. If a fire starts in the tree, you'll never get out.
Yep.
So when you have a safety plan to get out of the house, you need another exit. If you
Exactly,
can't get
two
through,
ways out.
hay que tener
And
un plan de
they agree
salida.
windows and
Is the proper number and sizes of ingress and egress. So each bedroom has to have, according to today's code, a size that's large enough that anybody can get in and out of. So in addition to the conventional exits in a home, theoretically every bedroom has an exit path as well.
Right.
yeah.
There is an exception to the get down low and get out quick that I talked to you about. You know, your plan should include training, and your training should include checking the door as high as you can reach while you're on your knees with the back of your hand, because your hand is sensitive on the back more to heat. You get calluses on the front. So if a door is hot, you should not exit your bedroom door. You should put something under the door crack to prevent smoke from getting in. Your bedroom now becomes an area of refuge, and you go to the window and you hang something out the window so that the firemen know you're trapped, and you stay at the window.
Wow.
Now, what about situations where windows are sealed shut and they cannot be opened?
Or above ground where it's safe to get out.
Yes.
High rises, yeah. You have to have a plan, and you have to research everything. Talk to your local fire marshal and fire department people and find out a good way to develop your plan. They'll help you whenever you ask them to.
Las personas que estén interesadas en tener un plan para evitar el riesgo, pueden hablar con sus departamentos de bomberos, pueden hablar con ellos, recibir sugerencias. Si están en un apartamento alto y no pueden salir por una ventana, ellos tendrán unas respuestas, unas alternativas.
Ok, perfecto. Bueno, vamos a contar un poquito qué es lo que pasa después de que hay un fuego, ya para terminar y despedir a nuestros invitados el día de hoy.
Yes. So now, after the fire's over, the aftermath, what happens next? What do people do? My house burned down, and I obviously want to renovate my home, or I need to figure out.
Well, the
next
firemen
step.
the firemen start this. They'll start as soon as they go into a fire, as soon as it's safe, they will start covering your furniture with you with salvage covers and everything like that, so water damage doesn't happen that gets greater damage to your furniture. And then sooner or later the firemen have the fire out. Then you need a company that's going to come and clean up the fire for you. If you have any amount of smoke in your house, remember what we talked to about the toxicity of smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes,
it's better to
please
have a
tell our
professional
listeners.
clean up. And
You
you should
have to.
always call your insurance company. Some people don't even call their insurance companies. They think they have to clean it up themselves, you know.
It's
Ed
impossible.
should touch on that a little bit, bro.
Tenemos que usar los recursos que están disponibles. Hay que evitar inhalar este tipo de toxinas.
Y aparte de eso, que quedan olores impresionantes en las casas y necesitan
El
compañías
plástico.
especializadas para
El
que vayan a
plástico.
limpiar.
Joe, tell us about the toxicity in plastics.
Foam and mattresses, plastics produce toxic smoke, including hydrogen cyanide gas, which is something used for rat poison. So you got to be
That's
very
carcinogen.
careful.
Eso es canceroso.
If you're going to do anything after fire, make sure you've ventilated your house very well and you've gotten out and gone back. Don't go back in until you're cleared to go back in by the fire department or whoever's on the scene that knows more than you.
Joe, but
Don't
you
attempt to do it yourself.
You never take the odor off of your house when you have fire. That's amazing how it
The-
stays in
It
there.
takes
odor.
special chemicals to do that to get the odor out.
Yeah, that's why you need to call a specialist company.
And so, Joe está diciendo que hay personas que no llaman al seguro, a la compañía de seguro porque no saben que la compañía es la que responde a arreglar y empezar a limpiar, a hacer el protocolo de lo que ellos piensan que ellos lo tienen que hacer. Y aquí Joe
They
está
do that
diciendo que
because
no
they
lo
want to
hagan.
save money and
Could that raise the
Yeah.
rates on the insurance
of
for
course,
people?
of course, raises.
Well, we're not part of the insurance industry in terms of coverage and premiums, et cetera. But obviously, the more that anybody has to pay out to
Deductibles and everything.
to help you, the more it's going to cost you ultimately. Joe touched on going back into the house and when to do that, and the very first step, of course, is the recovery program, and part of what we're doing at Paul Davis is introducing the emergency recovery program, where Joe, who will be notified of these events, will actually be there to assist the customer in whatever they need, that property owner, and whatever services they need to help them begin the recovery process. Completely mindful of being respectful of the firefighters and all the first responders. We're not there to do their job at all, but rather to complement them. And when they are ready to leave that fire scene, we can assist that property owner with whatever services need to be provided. Very often, the first step is to literally board up the house, put a tarp over the roof, secure it with a lock and hasp, and make sure there is no entry like we discussed earlier. And very important that the customer not go into the home until it is safe and until both the fire marshal and the insurance company's cause and origin engineers have signed off on it. Because if they get in and compromise the investigation, or if they compromise either investigation, fire marshal or the insurance carrier's investigation, that could compromise the entire coverage that they have. Again, we're not here to discuss coverage necessarily, but the good advice is stay out until everybody's signed off on it. And then as soon as you can, after it's signed off, now this is the time to go in and secure your valuables, secure jewelry, secure anything that you have that is small, easily portable by you. Any soft contents, you want to be very careful of bringing them into a clean space because that smoke will contaminate a clean space.
Lo que está diciendo Ed es que cuando uno está trabajando con la compañía de seguros es muy importante que uno no vaya a hacer ningunos cambios en el área hasta que está aclarado y que ha sido revisado por las autoridades oficiales, porque uno puede mover algo y se puede afectar todo el proyecto de la ayuda que uno va a recibir.
De la limpieza.
De la limpieza y se complica eso más para uno. Si uno ha pagado un seguro, uno tiene que tratar de pues beneficiarse mucho de ese servicio cuando
Usar
lleguen
el
a
seguro,
usar el
claro.
seguro. Y es un riesgo que no usen el seguro, que así uno piense que va a subir los deductibles porque el riesgo es la salud. Estos son unas toxinas muy fuertes, nos están diciendo aquí Joe. Y también ya cuando tiene uno la oportunidad de entrar al espacio, él está diciendo que es muy importante uno sacar sus joyas, todas las cosas que son de valor, pero en el caso de algo que sea de un material suave, tener mucho cuidado porque eso todavía puede tener toxinas y eso que se transmite al ambiente limpio va a llevar esas toxinas a ese nuevo ambiente.
Claro que sí. How we can, get in touch with you guys, with the company, website, how the people who are listening to us can, get more information about your
Our website is pauldavis.com, pauldavisctny.com,
okay.
and there you'll find a whole bunch of information about the company and the services that we provide.
Any phone number that they can contact you?
The Connecticut number is 203-403-3724, and our New York number is 914-764-0307.
Are you guys located or you have services in both states and counties?
Yeah, we have facilities in Ridgefield, Connecticut, and in White Plains, New York.
Okay. How many people is working for your company right now?
We have 20 employees, and we have a stable of subcontractors like most builders would have that actually do the restoration work. But a lot of the work is done in-house with our own staff as well.
That's very good.
Well, that's good.
Okay,
Do you also navigate people
We
to
do.
social contact?
We have a marketing rep who is driving that social media for us.
Because
So-
I'm looking at your business card and I see you have a very cool scan code on the back of your business card.
that's-
So I'm
I
thinking,
like
these
that.
guys are hip. I'm going to ask them, what are some of the social media ways they can get in touch with you? Do you have a Facebook page?
We do
or
Facebook. We have a Twitter account as well, and those are probably the two most active. accounts we
Wow.
have.
And Joe, you said there was a campaign right now where people are able to receive some sort of gift from Paul Davis.
No, a lot of fire departments develop smoke detector giveaway programs. We had one. I don't know if they still have it. But people should, if they want to know more about fire safety, Google NFPA.org. That's the National Fire Protection Association. They're the one that develop all these National Fire Prevention Week programs, like when it, Here to Beep When You Sleep. That's their slogan. They have an excellent website with a lot of public education on it. If your own fire department doesn't give it to you, go to the NFPA.org and check with your fire department. They may have a smoke detector giveaway program or assistance for you if you need help.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you both very much, gentlemen. Is there anything else that you would like to tell our audience about fire safety?
Don't be afraid of fire. Learn how to deal with it.
Be safe, be alert, pay attention, and hopefully things will turn out right for you.
So our listeners, we're going to give you a homework assignment. When you're done listening to this program, please share it with your family and your friends. Please put it on your social media. This is the kind of information that we want to disperse right now. It's October. We're about to go into Halloween. We have Thanksgiving. We have Christmas. Yes, Joe?
They had a very good slogan when I was doing the public relations for the fire department. I'll never forget it. Fire prevention, everyone, every day.
Everyone
very
every
good.
day, that's it. So that's it. Fire prevention, everyone every day. Todos que escuchen esto, por favor, compártanlo con las personas que ustedes conocen. Es muy importante. Estamos en una campaña para evitar fuegos y cuidar nuestras vidas y las vidas de nuestros hijos y nuestros viejitos y nuestros cachorros, nuestros animalitos también. Entonces, así concluimos este programa de hoy, Charlie.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for coming to me here. And remember, this is your house. Anytime that you want to have some prevention information on something like that, you guys are very welcome to come and share with us.
Thank
Absolutely.
You. Thank you,
Oh,
Addie.
and the
Thank you, Charlie, very
Mundonet
much.
mics are yours. Nuestra casa es su casa.
Very nice. Thank you.
In a
Gracias.
very nice house, too.
Thank you very much.